Picture this. The room is tense. Voices are rising. Someone is frustrated, someone is anxious, someone is angry. Decisions are being rushed. Words are being said that cannot be taken back. In moments like this, most people lose clarity. They react emotionally. They defend, rush, explain, or shut down. Control slips away fast. But there is always one person who changes the dynamic. They do not raise their voice. They do not panic. They do not match the emotional intensity in the room. They stay calm. And because they stay calm, everything shifts. This person holds the advantage. Calm is not weakness. Calm is leverage. In a world where emotional reactions are the norm, calm stands out immediately. It slows the moment. It creates space. It restores clarity. And the person who remains calm becomes the one others look to, whether they realize it or not. Most people misunderstand calm. They think it means being passive, quiet, or detached. They think it means suppressing emotion or avoiding conflict. That belief keeps them stuck in reactivity because they associate calm with losing power. The truth is the opposite. Calm is power because it keeps your mind online when others shut theirs down. When emotions spike, the thinking part of the brain goes offline. Perspective narrows. Options disappear. The body prepares for threat even when none exists. This is why people say things they regret, make poor decisions, and escalate situations unnecessarily. The calm person does not lose access to their thinking. They see more, hear more, and choose more wisely. Calm slows time internally. While others feel rushed, pressured, and reactive, the calm person experiences clarity. This clarity allows them to respond instead of react. Reaction is automatic. Response is intentional. Intentional action always beats emotional reaction. Staying calm gives you control over yourself first, and self-control is the foundation of influence. You cannot lead a situation, you cannot regulate yourself inside. This is true in work relationships, family conflict, negotiations, emergencies, and everyday stress. Calm determines outcomes more than intelligence, strength, or force ever could. Most people lose control because they feel they must respond immediately. Silence feels dangerous. Pausing feels like weakness. But urgency is often the enemy of accuracy. Calm questions urgency. Not everything requires immediate reaction. Many situations improve simply by slowing down. Calm gives you permission to pause. That pause prevents mistakes. When you stay calm, you protect your reputation. People remember who escalated and who stayed composed. Over time, calm builds trust. Trust builds authority. Authority does not come from dominance. It comes from steadiness. Calm also protects your energy. Emotional reactions drain you long after the moment passes. You replay conversations, second-guess decisions, and carry tension into the next situation. Calm allows emotion to move through without sticking. You recover faster. This recovery matters more than most people realize. In a high-pressure world, the ability to reset quickly is a competitive advantage. Calm people are not unbothered because life is easy. They are unbothered because they do not internalize chaos. Calm makes you difficult to manipulate. Provocation relies on reaction. Pressure relies on urgency. Emotional tactics only work when you engage emotionally. When you stay calm, those tactics fail. This does not make you cold. It makes you grounded. You can care deeply without losing control. You can engage fully without being hijacked. Calm does not remove emotion, it regulates it. This distinction is critical. Suppression stores emotion. Calm processes it. Many people fear calm because they believe emotion gives them power. They think intensity equals passion and reaction equals authenticity. In reality, unregulated emotion weakens communication and clouds judgment. Calm sharpens both. Calm also changes how others treat you. Some people will relax in your presence. Others may escalate trying to provoke a reaction. Stay grounded. This is not something you need to fix. It is information. Your stability reveals dynamics. Staying calm also changes how you experience yourself. You begin to trust your ability to handle pressure. This trust reduces fear. Fear is what causes loss of control in the first place. When fear fades, calm becomes natural. Calm is not something you fake. It is something you train. Your nervous system must learn that intensity is survivable. That discomfort does not equal danger. That you can feel emotion without acting it out. This training happens through awareness and repetition. Each time you choose calm over reaction, you strengthen the pattern. Calm also improves communication. Your voice steadies. Your words land with clarity. You stop over-explaining, defending, or justifying. You speak when it matters and stay silent when it does not. Silence used intentionally is powerful. Calm also allows you to see the bigger picture. While others focus on winning, the moment you focus on long-term outcomes. This perspective prevents short-sighted decisions. Long-term thinking is rare under pressure. Calm makes it possible. In leadership, calm is contagious. Teams regulate around the most grounded person in the room. In families, calm de-escalates conflict. In relationships, calm creates safety. In crisis, calm saves lives. Calm is not situational. It is internal. You do not wait for things to settle down to be calm. You bring calm with you. This audiobook will show you how to train that ability. Not by suppressing emotion or avoiding challenge, but by understanding how the nervous system works, how emotional contagion spreads, and how to remain centered when others lose control. You will learn how to stay clear in conflict, steady under pressure, and grounded in chaos. You will learn how to keep your power when others give theirs away. Calm is not the absence of intensity. Calm is mastery within it. And once you develop it, you will notice something profound. Very little can shake you. This is where that strength begins. Emotional chaos rarely starts with one person losing control. It spreads. It moves from one nervous system to another, quietly and quickly, until an entire room feels tense, reactive, and unstable. Most people do not realize this is happening while it happens. They only notice the aftermath. The raised voices, the poor decisions, the regret. To stay calm when everyone else loses control, you must understand this truth clearly. Emotions are contagious. Human beings are wired to mirror each other. Long before language, we relied on emotional signals to survive. If one person sensed danger, the group needed to react fast. That wiring still exists. Your nervous system is constantly reading facial expressions, tone, posture, and energy. It adjusts automatically. This is why tension in a room can be felt without a word being spoken. Emotional chaos spreads because the body reacts before the mind evaluates. You feel irritation, anxiety, or anger before you consciously choose it. The nervous system senses threat and prepares for action. Muscles tighten. Breath shortens. Focus narrows. Once this happens, thinking becomes secondary. This is how control is hijacked. When someone reacts emotionally, their body signals danger to others. Others feel the shift and react in turn. One raised voice leads to another. One anxious reaction triggers more anxiety. One moment of panic spreads quickly. This is not weakness. It is biology. But biology does not have to dictate behavior. Emotional chaos spreads fastest in environments where urgency, pressure, and uncertainty are high. Workplaces under stress, families during conflict, social situations with unspoken tension. The more uncertain people feel, the more reactive they become. Uncertainty activates fear. Fear fuels reaction. Another reason chaos spreads is identity threat. When people feel disrespected, ignored, or challenged emotionally, they defend their sense of self. This defense often appears as anger, defensiveness, or withdrawal. Defensiveness escalates situations quickly. Once identity is threatened, listening stops. People focus on protecting their image rather than resolving the issue. Logic disappears. Emotion takes the lead. This is why arguments escalate so fast. Emotional chaos also spreads through attention. When attention locks onto the emotional reaction, everything else fades. the mind becomes fixated. The situation feels bigger, more urgent, more personal. Attention fuels intensity. The more attention given to chaos, the more powerful it becomes. Social reinforcement plays a role as well. When one person reacts emotionally, others may validate it intentionally or not. They nod, agree, escalate, or join in. This validation strengthens the emotional response. Group emotion is stronger than individual emotion. This is why crowds panic faster than individuals. Another factor is unresolved emotional residue. Many people carry stress, frustration, and resentment into situations without realizing it. When a trigger appears that stored energy releases, the reaction seems out of proportion because it is. The current moment becomes the outlet for past tension. Emotional chaos spreads because few people are trained to regulate themselves in real time. Regulation is not taught in school or modeled consistently. Most people only know two modes: suppress or explode. Neither creates calm. Suppression builds pressure. Explosion releases it destructively. Regulation releases emotion without loss of control. The person who stays calm during chaos is not immune to emotion. They are regulated. They feel the same emotional signals, but do not act on them immediately. This is the critical difference. Staying calm also requires recognizing emotional bait. Some people unconsciously provoke reactions to regulate themselves. They release tension by triggering others. When others react, the provoker feels relief. This pattern continues unless someone refuses to engage. Calm breaks the cycle. When you do not match emotional intensity, the chaos loses momentum. Emotional escalation needs participation. Without it, the energy dissipates. This is why calm is so powerful. Calm also spreads. Just as panic is contagious, regulation is contagious. A steady voice slows the room. A relaxed posture reduces tension. A measured response restores order. The nervous system mirrors calm just as easily as chaos when given time. But this only works if calm is genuine. Forced calm feels tense. Others sense the effort. True calm comes from internal regulation, not external performance. Another important point is that emotional chaos hijacks control because people confuse emotion with truth. They believe that because they feel something strongly, it must be accurate. This belief drives reaction. Calm allows evaluation. You feel emotion without letting it define reality. Staying calm also protects you from absorbing emotions that are not yours. Many people take on others' stress unknowingly. They feel drained without understanding why. This happens when boundaries are weak. Calm creates boundaries automatically. When you remain grounded, you do not merge emotionally. You stay present without absorbing. Another reason chaos spreads is lack of pauses. Modern interactions move fast. People interrupt, respond instantly, and escalate without reflection. Pauses disrupt this momentum. A pause can change everything. Silence gives the nervous system time to settle. It interrupts automatic reaction. It creates space for clarity. The calm person uses pauses intentionally. They do not rush to fill silence. They let the moment breathe. This breathing space prevents escalation. Understanding how emotional chaos spreads gives you power. You stop taking reactions personally. You stop assuming you must fix or match energy. You recognize patterns as they unfold. Recognition creates choice. Choice allows you to stay centered. You realize that staying calm is not about controlling others. It is about refusing to be pulled into unconscious reaction. It is about maintaining access to your thinking. Thinking is power. When others lose control, they give up their power. They hand it to emotion. You keep yours by staying present. This does not mean disengaging from life. It means engaging wisely. You can still speak. You can still act. You simply do so from regulation rather than reaction. This skill becomes invaluable. In the next part, you will learn why most people react automatically and how to interrupt that reaction before it takes over. You will learn how to catch the moment where chaos begins internally and choose differently. This is where calm becomes reliable rather than occasional. And this is where control truly returns to you. Most reactions happen so fast that people believe they had no choice. Words come out before reflection. Emotions rise before logic. Actions happen before understanding. Later people say, "I do not know what came over me." That statement is more accurate than they realize. Reaction is not a conscious decision. It is a biological reflex. To stay calm when everyone else loses control, you must understand why most people react automatically and why thinking disappears in emotional moments. This understanding removes confusion and replaces it with clarity. The human brain has two primary operating modes. One is fast, emotional, and automatic. The other is slow, rational, and deliberate. Under normal conditions, these systems work together. Under stress, the balance shifts. When pressure appears, the fast system takes over. This system evolved to respond instantly to threat. It does not analyze. It does not consider long-term consequences. It prepares the body for action. Fight, flight, or freeze. This response is incredibly fast and completely unconscious. By the time you are aware of what you feel, the system is already active. This is why people react before they think. Stress is the switch. When stress crosses a certain threshold, the thinking brain loses influence. Blood flow shifts away from reasoning toward survival. Perspective narrows. The mind becomes rigid. Options disappear. This is not a failure of character. It is a physiological shift. Most people live close to that threshold all the time. Chronic stress pressure, lack of rest, and emotional overload keep the nervous system on edge. It does not take much to push it into reaction. A tone of voice, a look, a delay, a comment. Reaction happens instantly. Another reason people react instead of think is habit. Reactions are learned. If you have reacted a certain way repeatedly, the brain builds a shortcut. The next time a similar situation appears, the response fires automatically. The brain prefers efficiency over accuracy. Automatic reactions feel natural because they are familiar. Familiarity feels right even when it causes problems. Reactivity is also reinforced socially. In many environments, strong emotional reactions are normalized or rewarded. Anger is mistaken for confidence. Urgency is mistaken for importance. Loudness is mistaken for authority. Thinking calmly is often misinterpreted as weakness. This misunderstanding keeps people stuck in reaction. Another factor is identity. Many people tie their sense of self to being right, respected, or in control. When these identities feel threatened, reaction follows. Defensiveness is the mind protecting identity. Once identity is threatened, listening stops. Emotion becomes personal. Reactions also occur because people believe emotion equals truth. They feel something strongly, so they assume it must be valid. They do not pause to evaluate. They obey the feeling. This obedience happens automatically. Thinking requires space. Reaction collapses space. That space is removed by urgency. The belief that something must be handled immediately pushes the mind into reflex. Urgency shuts down reflection. Calm questions urgency. Another reason thinking disappears is fear of silence. Silence feels uncomfortable to many people. It creates uncertainty. Reaction fills that space quickly. But silence is where thinking returns. People also react because they have never learned to regulate emotion in real time. They were taught what to think, not how to manage internal states. When emotion rises, they only know two options: suppress or explode. Neither allows thinking. Regulation allows both feeling and thinking to coexist. Another overlooked factor is emotional exhaustion. When mental resources are depleted, the brain defaults to automatic responses. This is why people snap when tired or overwhelmed. A depleted mind cannot self-regulate effectively. This is why calm requires energy. People also react because they mistake intensity for effectiveness. They believe strong emotion will create change. In reality, it often creates resistance. Intensity closes ears. Calm opens them. The reaction cycle is self-reinforcing. One reaction triggers another, the environment escalates. Each person justifies their reaction by pointing to the others. No one feels responsible. The calm person breaks this loop. Understanding why people react gives you an advantage. Stop expecting rational behavior from activated nervous systems. Stop taking reactions personally. You see patterns rather than insults. This perspective alone creates calm. When you understand that reaction is automatic, you stop trying to argue with emotion. You stop trying to convince people who cannot hear you yet. You wait. Waiting is strategic. Thinking returns when the nervous system settles. The calm person knows this. They do not push for resolution at the peak of emotion. They allow intensity to pass. Then they engage. This timing changes outcomes. Understanding reactivity also helps you catch it in yourself. You begin to notice early signals: tightness in the chest, heat in the face, rapid thoughts. The urge to speak quickly. These are signals, not commands. When you notice them early, you can intervene. Intervention does not mean suppression. It means slowing the body so the mind can stay online. You breathe slower. You soften your posture. You pause your speech. These small actions keep the thinking brain engaged. This is how calm is maintained. Most people believe calm people do not feel emotion. That is false. Calm people feel emotion but do not obey it blindly. They feel and choose. Choice is the difference between reaction and response. Response requires awareness. Awareness requires presence. Presence returns power.
As you train this skill,
You begin to experience something important. Emotional moments no longer scare you. You trust yourself to remain centered. This trust reduces fear. Reduced fear reduces reaction. This creates a positive cycle. In the next part, you will learn exactly how to stay centered during conflict, pressure, and stress. You will learn practical, internal strategies that keep you grounded, even when emotions rise around you. This is where calm becomes a skill you can rely on, not just when things are easy, but especially when they are not. Staying calm when everyone else loses control is not about having a calm personality. It is about having a centered nervous system. Centering is the skill that allows you to remain grounded, even when emotions rise, pressure increases, and conflict intensifies. Without centering, calm is fragile. With centering, calm becomes reliable. Most people lose control in conflict because conflict activates threat. Even when no physical danger exists, the mind interprets disagreement, tension, or confrontation as a risk to safety status or belonging. The body reacts instantly. Heart rate increases, muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallow, and the mind narrows. This happens before logic has a chance to intervene. Staying centered means interrupting this process early. The first step is recognizing that conflict is not an emergency. Emotion makes it feel urgent, but urgency is often an illusion. Very few situations require immediate emotional response. Most require clarity. Clarity comes from slowing down internally, even if the situation is moving fast externally. Centering begins in the body. The body always reacts before the mind. If you try to stay calm using logic alone, you will fail under pressure. The body must be regulated first. This regulation starts with breath. When stress rises, breathing becomes shallow and fast. This signals danger to the nervous system. Slow, deliberate breathing signals safety. You do not need complicated techniques. You simply lengthen the exhale slightly more than the inhale. This tells the body it is safe to stay present. As the body calms, the mind regains access. Posture also matters. Under stress, people collapse forward, clench their jaw, and tense their shoulders. This posture reinforces threat. Straightening, gently relaxing the jaw, and lowering the shoulders sends a different signal. The body listens to posture. Centering also requires grounding attention. When conflict arises, the mind jumps ahead, imagining outcomes, consequences, and arguments. You bring attention back to the present. You feel your feet on the ground. You notice physical sensations. This anchors you. The present moment is where control lives. Another critical element is pacing. Under stress, people speak faster, interrupt more, and rush decisions. Speed increases mistakes. The centered person slows their speech intentionally. This slows the interaction. Slow speech calms the room. Silence is also a tool. Silence is not weakness. Silence gives you time to regulate and think. Many people fear silence because it feels like loss of control. In reality, Silence restores control. You do not owe immediate responses. Centering also involves emotional containment. Emotions may rise strongly. You allow them to exist internally without expressing them impulsively. This is not suppression. Suppression pushes emotion down. Containment holds it safely. You feel without acting. This ability grows with practice. Another powerful strategy is separating the person from the behavior. In conflict, people personalize everything. They feel attacked. Centering allows you to see behavior without making it about your identity. This reduces defensiveness. Defensiveness escalates conflict faster than almost anything else. Staying centered also requires letting go of the need to win. Many conflicts escalate because both sides want validation or dominance. Centering shifts the goal from winning to understanding or disengaging. You choose effectiveness over ego. This choice preserves energy. Another key skill is choosing when to engage and when to pause. Not every conflict should be handled immediately. Sometimes the most powerful move is to step back and revisit later. Timing matters. The centered person understands that emotional intensity clouds understanding. Waiting allows clarity to return. Centering also protects you from emotional contagion. Others may be angry, anxious, or frantic. You do not absorb their state. You notice it without matching it. This boundary is internal. You do not need to change them to protect yourself. Another important element is language. Under stress, language becomes sharp, absolute, and accusatory. Centered language is neutral and specific. You describe rather than accuse. You ask rather than demand. Language can escalate or de-escalate. Tone matters more than words. Staying centered also means recognizing your triggers. Everyone has them. Certain tones, topics, or situations activate you faster. Knowing your triggers allows earlier intervention. Awareness creates preparation. Preparation prevents reaction. Centering also involves letting go of control over outcomes. Trying to control how others feel, think, or respond increases stress. You control only your behavior and boundaries. Accepting this reduces pressure. Pressure fuels reactivity. Another powerful practice is internal reassurance. Under stress, the mind feels threatened. You quietly reassure yourself that you are safe, capable, and allowed to pause. This reassurance stabilizes the nervous system. You do not need external validation in that moment. Centering also improves decision-making. When you are centered, you can access memory, reasoning, and creativity. You see more options. You choose better responses. This advantage compounds over time. People begin to trust your presence. Staying centered during pressure also means managing energy outside of conflict. You cannot expect regulation under stress if you never practice it when calm. Daily practices of breath awareness, movement, rest, and reflection build capacity. Capacity determines performance. Another critical aspect is emotional recovery. After conflict or pressure, you consciously reset. You do not replay endlessly. You release the residue. This prevents accumulation. Accumulation leads to burnout. The centered person processes and moves on. Centering also changes how you experience stress long-term. Stressful events still occur, but they do not destabilize you. You recover faster. You remain functional. This resilience is not accidental. It is trained. Staying centered does not mean avoiding difficult conversations. It means entering them with regulation. You can be firm and calm at the same time. Calm does not remove strength. It sharpens it. Firmness without calm is aggression. Calm without firmness is passivity. Centered calm is balanced strength. Another important shift is trusting yourself to handle intensity. Fear of conflict increases reactivity. Confidence reduces it. Each time you stay centered, you build trust in your capacity. Trust reduces fear. Reduced fear reduces reaction. This positive cycle builds stability. Centering also allows compassion. When you are regulated, you can see that others' reactions often come from fear, pain, or stress. This does not excuse behavior, but it changes your internal response. Compassion prevents escalation. Another subtle benefit is self-respect. When you stay centered, you respect yourself. You do not abandon your values under pressure. This alignment strengthens confidence. Confidence stabilizes the nervous system. Staying centered during conflict, pressure, and stress is not about controlling the situation. It is about controlling your internal state. From that place, everything else becomes easier. You think clearly. You speak intentionally. You act deliberately. This is the foundation of calm power. In the next part, you will learn how calm becomes authority, influence, and inner strength. You will see why people naturally follow and trust those who remain regulated when others lose control. This is where calm turns into leadership, and where presence becomes power. There is a form of authority that does not demand attention, yet naturally receives it. It does not rely on status, volume, or dominance. It does not need to intimidate, persuade aggressively, or explain excessively. This authority comes from calm. When you remain calm while others lose control, people feel it immediately. They may not be able to name it, but they respond to it instinctively. Calm creates influence before words ever do. Human beings are wired to look for stability in uncertain situations. When emotions run high, people unconsciously search for someone who feels grounded. The calm person becomes that reference point. Not because they claim leadership, but because their nervous system signals safety and control. This is why calm becomes authority. Authority is not about forcing others to listen. It is about creating a state where others are able to listen. Emotional intensity shuts down listening. Calm reopens it. When you stay calm, you keep your thinking clear. Clear thinking leads to clear communication. Clear communication builds trust. Trust is the foundation of influence. Influence begins internally. If you cannot regulate yourself, others will sense it even if you try to hide it. Tension leaks. Anxiety shows up in tone, posture, and pacing. People respond not just to what you say, but to how regulated you are while saying it. Calm communicates confidence without arrogance. Confidence is not loud. Confidence is settled. When someone speaks calmly under pressure, it signals that they are not threatened by the situation. This signals competence. People trust competence, especially in uncertainty. This is why calm leaders stand out. Calm also creates psychological safety. When others feel emotionally safe around you, they open up. They share more honestly. They listen more carefully. They become less defensive. Safety lowers resistance. Lower resistance increases influence. This does not mean you agree with everyone or avoid difficult conversations. It means you approach them without emotional volatility. You can be firm without being reactive. You can set boundaries without aggression. Firm calm is powerful. Aggression may get attention, but it creates opposition. Calm authority creates cooperation. Another reason calm increases influence is that it slows interactions. Slowing things down gives people time to think. When people think they make better decisions, they regret less. They trust the process more. Urgency forces compliance. Calm invites agreement. This difference matters. Calm also gives you control over framing. When emotions run high, framing is hijacked by fear. Worst-case interpretations dominate. When you are calm, you can reframe situations accurately. You can clarify misunderstandings. You can name what is actually happening. Clarity is persuasive. People follow clarity when chaos feels overwhelming. Calm authority also protects you from power struggles. Power struggles require emotional engagement. They thrive on ego and reaction. When you do not engage emotionally, the struggle dissolves. You cannot pull someone into a fight if they refuse to fight. This refusal is not weakness. It is self-control. Self-control is power. Calm also strengthens credibility over time. People remember how you handle pressure more than how you perform when things are easy. Repeated calm responses build a reputation. You become known as steady, reliable, and trustworthy. Reputation compounds influence. Another important aspect is that calm allows you to listen fully. Most people listen while preparing their response. This is not listening. Calm quiets internal noise so you can actually hear others. Feeling heard reduces defensiveness. People are more open to influence when they feel understood. Listening is influence. Calm also makes your words land with more weight. When you speak less and more intentionally, people pay attention. Over-explaining often signals insecurity. Calm brevity signals confidence. You do not need to convince when you are grounded. Another subtle but powerful effect of calm is emotional containment. Others may project fear, anger, or urgency onto you. When you remain calm, you do not absorb it. You contain the interaction. This containment stabilizes the dynamic. People often calm down simply by being around someone regulated. This is emotional leadership. Calm leadership does not require position or title. It emerges naturally in groups because nervous systems synchronize. The most regulated nervous system often sets the tone. You lead by how you are, not just by what you say. Calm also protects your inner power. When you react emotionally, you give control to the situation or person triggering you. When you stay calm, you keep control inside. This internal control is the foundation of confidence. Confidence comes from knowing you can handle intensity. Calm strengthens decision-making. Decisions made under emotional pressure are often reactive and short-sighted. Calm decisions consider consequences. They align with values. They hold long-term perspective. This alignment increases self-respect. Self-respect reinforces authority. Another reason calm is influential is that it reduces noise. Emotional reactions create mental noise. Noise obscures important details. Calm quiets the noise so key information stands out. You notice what others miss? This awareness gives you advantage. Calm also helps you manage disagreement without escalation. Disagreement does not have to become conflict. Calm separates ideas from identity. You can challenge opinions without attacking people. This approach earns respect. Respect is influence. Calm authority also allows you to say no without guilt. You do not justify excessively. You do not apologize for boundaries. You state them clearly and calmly. Clear boundaries signal self-trust. Self-trust attracts trust from others. Another powerful aspect of calm is patience. Influence is often lost through impatience. People rush outcomes. Calm patience allows processes to unfold. This patience feels confident rather than passive. You are not in a hurry because you trust your capacity. Calm also protects you from manipulation. Emotional manipulation relies on urgency, guilt, or fear. Calm disrupts these tactics. You pause. You evaluate. You choose. Choice protects power. When you are calm, you do not need to prove yourself. Proving creates tension. Calm presence communicates enough. This is why calm feels intimidating to some people. It cannot be rushed, controlled, or provoked easily. Calm is self-contained power. Calm authority also extends inward. You influence yourself. You trust your judgment. You follow through. You do not abandon yourself under pressure. Self-influence is foundational. If you cannot influence yourself, you cannot influence others sustainably. Calm also allows emotional honesty. You can acknowledge feelings without being driven by them. This honesty builds integrity. Integrity strengthens influence. Another benefit is that calm reduces burnout. Emotional reactivity drains energy. Calm preserves it. Preserved energy allows consistency. Consistency builds impact. Impact grows over time. Calm authority also improves conflict resolution. When one person stays regulated, resolution becomes possible. You focus on solutions rather than blame. You de-escalate rather than inflame. Resolution requires regulation. Calm also helps you navigate power dynamics. When others posture or assert dominance, calm neutrality disarms them. You do not compete emotionally. You stay grounded. Grounded people are hard to dominate. Another subtle effect is that calm increases empathy. When you are regulated, you can see beyond behavior into underlying emotion. This understanding allows strategic compassion. Compassion used wisely is influential. Calm authority also teaches others how to interact with you. Over time, people learn that emotional escalation will not work. They approach you more thoughtfully. You set the standard. Setting standards is leadership. Calm also enhances presence. Presence is felt, not explained. When you are present, people sense attention and respect. This presence deepens connection. Connection supports influence. Another important aspect is that calm allows you to respond proportionally. Emotional reactions are often disproportionate. Calm allows measured response. This fairness builds trust. Trust multiplies influence. Calm authority does not seek control over others. It maintains control within. Ironically, this inner control creates more external influence. This is the paradox. The less you try to dominate, the more people listen. Calm also aligns action with values. Under emotional pressure, people act against their values. Calm keeps values accessible. You act with integrity even when stressed. Integrity is lasting power. As you practice calm authority, you will notice a shift. You speak less, react less, and influence more. Situations that once drained you feel manageable. People respond differently. Not because you changed them, because you changed your state. In the next part, you will learn how to train emotional control specifically for high-stress moments. You will learn how to build this calm response so it appears when you need it most, not just when life is easy. This is where calm becomes a trained skill, and where inner power becomes reliable. High-stress moments are where calm is truly tested. It is easy to feel regulated when life is smooth and predictable. But real mastery shows up when pressure is intense, when emotions rise suddenly, and when the stakes feel high. These moments reveal whether calm is just an idea or a trained skill. Emotional control in high-stress moments is not about willpower. Willpower collapses under pressure. It is about training your nervous system to respond differently so that regulation becomes automatic. Most people lose control in high-stress moments because their system has never been trained for intensity. When stress appears, the body reacts exactly as it has been conditioned to react. Fast breath, tight muscles, racing thoughts, and impulsive action. This response is not chosen. It is conditioned. Training emotional control means changing this conditioning. The first truth you must understand is that high-stress moments do not require elimination of emotion. They require containment. Emotion can be present without driving behavior. This distinction is crucial. You do not wait to calm down to act wisely. You act wisely while feeling emotion. Training begins with awareness of early signals. Stress does not appear all at once. It builds. There are always early indicators. Tightness in the chest, jaw, or shoulders. Shallow breathing, a sense of urgency, a narrowing of attention. These are signals, not failures. Signals give you time. Most people miss these signals because they are focused outward. Training means shifting part of your attention inward during stress. You monitor your state without disengaging from the situation. This internal monitoring is a skill. Once you notice early signals, you intervene at the body level. The body must be regulated before the mind can stabilize. You slow your breathing slightly. You soften your posture. You relax your jaw and hands. These small actions interrupt escalation. The nervous system responds immediately to physical cues. When you slow the body, you slow the stress response. This gives the thinking brain a chance to stay online. Another critical training element is learning to tolerate discomfort. High-stress moments are uncomfortable. Trying to eliminate discomfort increases panic. Training involves allowing discomfort without acting impulsively. You say internally, "I can feel this and still function." This belief reduces fear. Fear of emotion is what causes loss of control. When fear fades, regulation becomes possible. Training emotional control also involves practicing under mild stress deliberately. You do not wait for extreme situations to practice. You practice regulation during everyday annoyances, delays, disagreements, and frustrations. Small stress builds capacity. Capacity prepares you for bigger stress. Another important aspect is language. Under stress, inner dialogue becomes urgent and catastrophic. Training involves guiding this dialogue deliberately. You use grounding language. Stay present. Slow down. One step at a time. This language stabilizes attention. Attention determines experience. Training also includes delaying response. In high-stress moments, the urge to respond immediately is strong. Training teaches you to pause even briefly before acting or speaking. A pause creates choice. Choice restores control. Pausing does not mean avoidance. It means regulation. Another powerful training tool is visualization. You mentally rehearse staying calm in stressful scenarios. You imagine the signals rising and yourself regulating successfully. The nervous system responds to imagined rehearsal. Rehearsal builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. Training emotional control also means managing baseline stress. A chronically stressed system reacts more intensely. Sleep, rest, movement, and recovery are not optional. They are foundational. A rested nervous system regulates more easily. Another critical skill is recognizing when to disengage temporarily. Some high-stress moments require stepping back to prevent escalation. This is not weakness. It is strategy. Strategic disengagement preserves control. Training also involves setting boundaries. High stress often comes from overexposure to demands. Learning to say no clearly and calmly reduces unnecessary pressure. Boundaries reduce triggers. Another important element is emotional labeling. When you name an emotion, it shifts from experience to observation. You say, this is frustration, this is fear, this is anger. Naming reduces intensity. Observation weakens reaction. Training emotional control also involves learning to release emotion after stress passes. If you do not discharge stress, it accumulates. Movement, expression, reflection, and rest release stored energy. Release prevents buildup. Training also includes self-compassion. You will not regulate perfectly every time. Judging yourself for slipping increases stress. Compassion allows learning. Learning strengthens skill. Another key is aligning actions with values. In high-stress moments, values anchor behavior. When you know what matters, you act accordingly, even when emotions rise. Values provide stability. Training also requires patience. Emotional control develops gradually. Expecting instant mastery creates frustration. Frustration triggers reactivity. Consistency matters more than intensity. Another powerful training element is recognizing emotional hooks. Certain topics, people, or situations trigger you more. Identifying these hooks allows preparation. Preparation reduces surprise. Surprise increases reaction. Training emotional control also involves learning to stay physically present. Stress pulls attention into the future or past. You bring it back to now. You feel your body. You notice your surroundings. Presence anchors regulation. Another subtle skill is managing facial expression and tone. The body communicates state externally. A relaxed face and slower tone reinforce internal calm. The body follows behavior. Training also includes reframing stress. Stress signals importance. Reframing stress as energy rather than threat reduces anxiety. Interpretation shapes response. Another important practice is practicing calm in disagreement. You engage without escalation. You listen without interrupting. You respond thoughtfully. This builds confidence. Confidence reduces fear. Training emotional control also changes your relationship with mistakes. Mistakes under stress are inevitable. Training teaches correction, not self-attack. Self-attack weakens regulation. Correction strengthens it. Another benefit of training is faster recovery. Even when stress spikes, you recover quickly. Recovery speed is a key marker of emotional control. Fast recovery preserves energy. training also builds trust in yourself. You learn that you can handle intensity. This trust reduces anticipatory anxiety. Reduced anxiety reduces reactivity. Another critical shift is moving from control of others to control of self. Trying to control others increases stress. Training focuses inward. Inner control creates external stability. Training emotional control also improves communication. You choose words carefully. You listen fully. You do not escalate unnecessarily. This improves outcomes. Another aspect is learning when not to engage. Not every stressor deserves response. Training includes discernment. Discernment preserves calm. Training also helps you recognize that high-stress moments are temporary. Perspective reduces urgency. Perspective restores clarity. As emotional control strengthens, you begin to notice that stress no longer overwhelms you. You feel it, but you are not consumed. You remain functional. This is strength. Training emotional control in high-stress moments is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming skillful. You feel deeply and act wisely. This skill transforms your life. In the next part, you will learn how staying calm allows you to lead yourself when others lose control. You will see how self-leadership creates influence, stability, and confidence in chaotic environments. This is where calm becomes leadership, and where control becomes consistent. When chaos erupts, most people look outward for direction. They wait for someone to fix it, calm it, or take charge. But real leadership does not begin outward. It begins inward. The ability to lead yourself when others lose control is the foundation of every other form of leadership. Without self-leadership, external leadership collapses. Leading yourself means you do not abandon your principles, clarity, or regulation when pressure rises. You remain aligned even when the environment is not. This alignment becomes an anchor not just for you, but for others as well. Most people lose control because they outsource leadership to emotion. Emotion takes the wheel and drives behavior. Self-leadership means you keep your hands on the wheel even when emotion is loud. This does not mean ignoring emotion. It means guiding it. The first step in self-leadership is responsibility. Responsibility here does not mean blame. It means ownership of your internal state. Stop saying they made me angry or this situation ruined my calm. You recognize that while you cannot control events, you can control your response. This recognition restores power. When others lose control, they often seek validation or reaction. They want someone to join their emotional state. Self-leadership means you refuse to be pulled in unconsciously. You remain present without merging emotionally. This boundary is leadership. Leading yourself also requires clarity of values. In chaos, values become your compass. When emotions rise, logic may blur, but values remain steady. You ask what matters here. How do I want to show up regardless of outcome? Values cut through noise. When you act from values rather than emotion, you build integrity. Integrity strengthens self-trust. Self-trust stabilizes the nervous system. This stability allows leadership to emerge naturally. Self-leadership also involves managing inner dialogue. When others lose control, your mind may start narrating fear, urgency, or judgment. Leading yourself means guiding this dialogue deliberately. You replace panic with grounding reminders. Slow down, stay present, choose deliberately. This guidance keeps the mind online. Another critical aspect is emotional containment. Others may express anger, frustration, or anxiety openly. Self-leadership means you do not mirror these emotions. You acknowledge them without absorbing them. You stay open but grounded. This containment calms interactions. Leading yourself also involves patience. Chaos often triggers a desire to fix everything immediately. Self-leadership understands that timing matters. Sometimes the most effective action is waiting until emotional intensity subsides. Patience is not passivity. It is strategic restraint. Self-leadership also means choosing when to speak and when to remain silent. Silence can be powerful when others are reactive. It gives space for regulation and prevents escalation. You do not need to fill every moment. Another important skill is decision-making under pressure. When others lose control, they make impulsive decisions. Self-leadership slows decision-making enough to ensure alignment with values and long-term goals. You resist urgency when urgency is unnecessary. This resistance preserves clarity. Self-leadership also includes self-regulation rituals. You know what brings you back to center quickly? Breath posture, movement grounding statements. Use these tools automatically. Preparedness creates confidence. Confidence reduces reactivity. Leading yourself also requires compassion. Chaos often brings out harsh self-judgment. You may feel disappointed, frustrated, or overwhelmed. Self-leadership means you treat yourself with respect even when things are difficult. Harshness destabilizes. Compassion stabilizes. Another element is adaptability. Self-leadership does not mean rigidity. It means staying aligned while adapting strategies to adjust approach without losing center. Flexibility is strength. Leading yourself also means protecting your energy. When others lose control, energy drains quickly. Self-leadership includes boundaries around engagement. You do not stay in emotionally charged environments longer than necessary. Protection preserves capacity. Capacity allows sustained leadership. Self-leadership also improves communication. You speak calmly, clearly, and intentionally. You do not match volume or intensity. Your tone becomes an anchor. Tone often matters more than content. Another subtle aspect is modeling behavior. When you lead yourself, others observe. They may calm down without realizing why. Your regulation gives permission for theirs. Leadership spreads through example. Self-leadership also involves recognizing when to step in and when to step back. You do not need to control every situation. Sometimes leading yourself means disengaging and allowing others to process. Control is not leadership. Discernment is. Leading yourself also means learning from chaos. After the moment passes, you reflect without judgment. You ask what helped, what did not, what can improve. This reflection refines skill. Learning accelerates mastery. Self-leadership also strengthens resilience. Each time you remain aligned under pressure, you build confidence. This trust reduces fear in future situations. Fear is what destabilizes leadership. Another important shift is identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who remains steady. This identity shapes future behavior automatically. Identity guides action. Leading yourself also involves letting go of the need for approval. When others lose control, they may criticize, blame, or project. Self-leadership does not seek validation in chaos. You remain grounded in your own assessment. Internal validation stabilizes. Another powerful element is emotional literacy. You understand emotions without being controlled by them. You can name what is happening without reacting. Understanding reduces fear. Self-leadership also includes accepting limits. You cannot fix everyone. You cannot control outcomes. You do what you can and release the rest. Acceptance reduces stress. Leading yourself also changes how you experience chaos. Chaos becomes a signal, not a threat. It tells you where regulation is needed. It becomes information. Information empowers. As self-leadership strengthens, you notice that fewer situations feel overwhelming. You remain functional even when others are not. This stability becomes your baseline. Baseline determines behavior. Self-leadership also improves self-respect. You respect yourself for staying aligned. This respect feeds confidence. Confidence feeds calm. Leading yourself when others lose control is not about superiority. It is about responsibility. Responsibility to your values, your well-being, and your integrity. This responsibility creates freedom. In the next part, you will learn how to become unshakable in any environment. You'll see how calm becomes stable across contexts, not just in isolated moments. This is where calm becomes a way of being. Not something you do, but something you are. Being unshakable does not mean nothing affects you. It means nothing controls you. It means you can enter intense environments, noisy rooms, emotional conversations, high-pressure situations, and unpredictable circumstances without losing your center. Your calm does not depend on conditions. It comes from within. Most people believe they lose control because the environment is too much. In reality, they lose control because their inner stability depends on outer stability. When the environment changes, their inner state collapses. Becoming unshakable means reversing this relationship. Your inner state becomes the constant. Unshakable calm is not created by avoiding stress or controlling others. It is created by building a nervous system that can tolerate intensity without panicking. This tolerance is what allows calm to remain present no matter where you are. The first step to becoming unshakable is accepting that environments will never be perfectly calm. Noise, conflict, urgency, and emotion are part of life. Waiting for ideal conditions keeps you fragile. Strength is built in imperfect conditions. You do not wait for calm. You practice it. Unshakable people do not resist reality. Resistance creates tension. They accept what is happening and work with it rather than against it. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means recognizing reality as it is so you can respond effectively. Acceptance stabilizes the nervous system. When you stop fighting what is happening, your body relaxes. Relaxation restores clarity. Clarity restores choice. Another key aspect is internal anchoring. An anchor is something within you that remains steady regardless of external movement. This may be your breath posture, values, or awareness itself. When the environment becomes chaotic, you return to the anchor. Anchors prevent drift. Without an anchor, attention is pulled outward and scattered. With an anchor, attention stabilizes. Becoming unshakable also requires reducing emotional dependency on outcomes. When your emotional state depends on how things turn out, you are easily shaken. You hope for calm and fear disruption. This attachment creates vulnerability. Detachment creates stability. Detachment here does not mean not caring. It means caring without being consumed. You invest effort without tying your identity to results. Another critical skill is perspective. Unshakable people maintain perspective during intensity. They remember that moments pass, that reactions fade, and that few things are as permanent as they feel. Perspective reduces urgency. Urgency fuels reactivity. Becoming unshakable also involves strengthening attention control. When attention is hijacked by noise, opinions, or emotion, calm collapses. Training attention allows you to choose where focus rests. Focus determines experience. Unshakable people focus intentionally rather than reactively. Another important element is emotional literacy. You can identify emotions quickly and accurately. You know the difference between fear, frustration, anger, and stress? This clarity prevents confusion. Confusion amplifies distress. Naming emotion reduces intensity. Becoming unshakable also requires releasing the need to be understood in every moment. When you need others to understand, you remain emotionally vulnerable. Unshakable calm comes from internal validation. You trust your own assessment. This trust stabilizes your inner world. Another key aspect is boundaries. Unshakable people know when to engage and when to disengage. They do not expose themselves to unnecessary emotional chaos. They step back when needed without guilt. Boundaries protect regulation. Becoming unshakable also involves physical grounding. The body is the foundation of stability. Regular movement, rest, and breath awareness strengthen resilience. A regulated body supports a calm mind. Mind and body are one system. Another powerful practice is stress inoculation. You gradually expose yourself to challenging environments while practicing regulation. This builds confidence. The nervous system learns that intensity is survivable. Survivability reduces fear. Fear is what shakes people. Becoming unshakable also means reducing over-identification with thoughts. Thoughts will arise in any environment. When you see them as events rather than commands, they lose power. You observe without obeying. This observation creates freedom. Another important element is consistency. Unshakable calm is not built through occasional effort. It is built through daily practice. Small, consistent acts of regulation compound over time. Consistency builds reliability. Reliability builds trust. Trust builds calm. Becoming unshakable also changes how you respond to criticism. Criticism no longer destabilizes you. You evaluate it calmly. You take what is useful and release the rest. This neutrality protects confidence. Another shift is how you experience unpredictability. Unshakable people are comfortable not knowing. They adapt as information appears. They do not panic in uncertainty. Comfort with uncertainty is strength. Becoming unshakable also means letting go of emotional perfection. You allow yourself to feel off sometimes. You recover rather than judge. This flexibility prevents collapse. Rigid calm breaks under pressure. Flexible calm holds. Another critical aspect is inner dialogue. Under stress, you speak to yourself as a steady guide, not a critic. Your tone matters. Calm language calms the body. Language shapes state. Becoming unshakable also requires trusting time. You do not force resolution. You allow processes to unfold. You know that clarity often comes after intensity. Trust reduces impatience. Impatience fuels reaction. Unshakable people also understand that not every environment deserves their full attention. You choose where to invest energy. You disengage from unnecessary drama. Energy management sustains calm. Another benefit is emotional recovery speed. Even when shaken briefly, you recover quickly. Recovery speed is more important than never being shaken. Fast recovery preserves stability. Becoming unshakable also enhances presence. You remain present, regardless of surroundings. Presence grounds you. Grounded presence influences others. Another subtle but powerful shift is identity. You no longer identify as someone easily affected. You see yourself as stable, adaptable, and resilient. This identity reinforces behavior. Identity shapes response. Becoming unshakable also increases freedom. You are no longer controlled by environments, moods, or others' reactions. You move through life with steadiness. Steadiness creates confidence. Confidence reduces fear. Fearlessness is not absence of fear. It is ability to function despite it. Becoming unshakable does not mean you become distant or cold. It means you remain open without losing center. You connect without merging. You care without collapsing. This balance is maturity. As you practice these skills, you will notice a profound change. Situations that once overwhelmed you feel manageable. Environments that once drained you feel neutral. You carry calm with you. This is unshakable presence. In the final part, you will learn how to live as the calm presence in every situation. Not just during stress, but as a way of being. Calm becomes your identity rather than a response. This is where everything integrates, and where calm becomes permanent. Living as the calm presence does not mean you are calm only when things are quiet or when people around you are reasonable. It means calm becomes your default state regardless of circumstances. It is no longer something you switch on under pressure. It is how you move through life. At this stage, calm is not an effort. It is an identity. Most people think calm is something they achieve temporarily. A moment of peace, a good day, a relaxed weekend. Then life happens again, and calm disappears. Living as the calm presence reverses this pattern. Life still happens, but calm remains. This shift happens when regulation becomes integrated rather than practiced occasionally. You stop asking, "How do I stay calm in this situation?" and start living from a regulated baseline. From this baseline, intensity no longer feels threatening. It feels manageable. Living as the calm presence begins with trust. You trust your ability to handle whatever arises. This trust removes anticipatory anxiety. When you no longer fear losing control, you stop bracing against life. Bracing creates tension. Releasing tension restores calm. The calm presence does not rush. Rushing is often driven by fear of falling behind or losing control. Calm presence moves deliberately. You act with clarity rather than urgency. This deliberate pace changes outcomes. People around you begin to feel the difference. Conversations slow. Conflicts soften. Chaos loses momentum. Not because you demand calm, but because your nervous system sets the tone. Calm becomes contagious. Living as the calm presence also means you stop reacting to everything. You become selective. Not every stimulus deserves response. Not every emotion requires expression. You choose engagement intentionally. Choice protects energy. Energy sustains calm. Another important aspect is acceptance of imperfection. Calm presence does not demand perfect emotional regulation. You allow yourself to feel off occasionally. You recover without judgment. Recovery matters more than perfection. Living as the calm presence also means you are comfortable with silence. Silence no longer feels awkward or threatening. It feels grounded. In silence, you think clearly and listen deeply. Silence becomes a tool rather than something to avoid. The calm presence listens more than it speaks. When you speak, you are precise. You do not over-explain, justify, or defend unnecessarily. Your words carry weight because they are grounded. Grounded words influence. Living as the calm presence also means you are not controlled by others' reactions. Praise does not inflate you. Criticism does not collapse you. You evaluate calmly and move forward. This neutrality stabilizes confidence. Another key shift is how you relate to emotions. Emotions still arise, but they no longer define your behavior. You feel them fully without being driven by them. Feeling without fusion is mastery. Living as the calm presence also requires letting go of the need to fix everything. Many people react because they feel responsible for resolving discomfort. Calm presence allows discomfort to exist without panic. Not everything needs immediate resolution. This patience creates space for natural solutions. The calm presence also respects boundaries. You know when to engage and when to step back. You do not overextend emotionally. You protect your inner stability. Protection preserves presence. Living as the calm presence also changes how you experience stress. Stress becomes a signal rather than a threat. You respond early. You regulate before escalation. Early response prevents overwhelm. Another important aspect is embodiment. Calm presence is felt in the body. Relaxed posture, steady breathing, grounded movement. The body communicates calm even before the mind does. Others sense this instinctively. Living as the calm presence also requires self-honesty. You notice when you are becoming reactive, and you intervene without shame. You do not pretend to be calm. You restore it. Restoration builds integrity. Integrity strengthens presence. The calm presence also brings clarity of priorities. When the mind is not constantly reactive, you see what matters. You invest energy wisely. You stop wasting effort on unnecessary conflict. Clarity simplifies life. Living as the calm presence also improves relationships. People feel safe around you. They feel heard. They feel less judged. This safety deepens connection. Connection thrives in calm. Another powerful shift is reduced mental noise. Thoughts still arise, but they do not dominate. You experience more moments of quiet awareness. Quiet awareness is deeply restorative. Living as the calm presence also increases resilience. When challenges appear, you do not collapse. You adjust. You recover. You continue. Resilience is calm under pressure repeated over time. Another important element is gratitude. Calm presence allows you to notice small moments. You appreciate without rushing. This appreciation grounds you further. Gratitude stabilizes the nervous system. Living as the calm presence also means you stop taking chaos personally. You see that others' reactions often reflect their own inner state. You respond with understanding or distance rather than absorption. Detachment preserves peace. The calm presence does not need to prove anything. You do not compete emotionally. You do not chase validation. You are sufficient as you are. This sufficiency is freeing. Living as the calm presence also enhances leadership. Whether or not you hold a formal role, people look to you during uncertainty. Your steadiness provides direction. Leadership emerges naturally from regulation. Another subtle but profound change is how you experience time. Time feels less rushed. Moments feel fuller. You are present rather than constantly ahead. Presence enriches life. Living as the calm presence also requires continued practice. Calm is not a finish line. It is a way of relating to life. Some days, will be easier than others. That is natural. Consistency sustains calm. Another important aspect is self-respect. You respect yourself for staying aligned even when it is hard. This respect reinforces identity. Identity reinforces behavior. Behavior reinforces calm. Living as the calm presence also means you become less afraid of intensity. You no longer avoid difficult conversations or environments. You trust yourself to stay grounded. Trust dissolves fear. Fearlessness is calm in motion. The calm presence does not withdraw from life. It engages fully. You care deeply. You act decisively. You remain open. But you do so without losing center. This is balance. As this journey comes to a close, understand this truth clearly. Calm is not something you wait for. It is something you become. It is not dependent on circumstances. It is built through awareness, regulation, and choice. You do not control the world. You control your response to it. And that control changes everything. When everyone else loses control, you remain steady. When chaos spreads, you remain grounded. When pressure rises, you remain clear. This is not luck. This is mastery. And once calm becomes who you are, nothing external can take it from you. This is the power of staying calm. And this is where your strength lives.